Are you ready to party? Let's go. Natasha, Serrano. Did I do it?
Yeah.
That was good. It was
I was
quiet.
so nervous before we started recording, dude. I was like, I hope I get this.
Welcome.
Yes. Welcome to the podcast. We are
you.
really glad that you're here. Glad that you reached out. I'm excited to talk about what you're doing and who you are and the political venture that you are going to be on. So this is really cool. And you got a sick outfit on. I'm just in a t-shirt, so I'm sorry that I'm underdressed right now.
Yeah, you do look very fancy.
No, thank you. You guys are fine. I have an event after this, so that's why.
Okay. What event is that?
It's to meet the candidates for judges
Oh.
in LA County.
Nice.
Yeah, at Whittier.
At Whittier?
Okay.
You're so important. Oh my God.
No, not
I
at
put
all.
water on fire and I speak into a microphone.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I was like, I got nothing. You're right. You are more important. There's no doubt.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Well, Natasha, you seems like you got a pretty interesting story. Where were you born?
I was born in Guadalajara in Mexico.
Wow. When did you come to the United States?
I've been back and forth since I was little. My parents divorced when I was about 3 years old.
Okay.
And my mom's from Mexico. My dad's from here, from California.
Okay.
So sometimes I would live with my mom, other times with my dad.
Yeah.
But recently I've been here for 9 years now.
Okay. 9 years. Wow. Would you say you spent more time here or is it kind of split?
I think at this point it's kind of split.
Kind of split? Mm-hmm. Wow. Do you have brothers and sisters that are down there and family?
I
and everything?
do in Mexico. My brother, he's 25.
Wow. So you're up here doing your own thing, running for. Okay. And what are you running for? So everybody knows.
The 56th District State Assembly.
56th District State Assembly.
Let's go.
Let's go, people.
That's so awesome. What? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
What? I guess that's a good entry point. Is what got you inspired to want to run?
The calling from the Lord, to be honest, to protect the baby in the womb. Just
Okay.
seeing all these bills passing. Really, I was praying, and God calls us to pray and act, not just sit on the sidelines. So I said, I have to do something about it. So then I started researching what an assembly person does. And I was like, okay, I'll run for office. Why not? So I turned in my paperwork and everything a week before the deadline.
Okay.
A week before the deadline. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
I was happy 2 months ago. I had a Super Bowl party at my house, not worrying about anything. Little did I know that I was going to be here now.
Wow.
So,
Wow, that's
It sounds like your faith's something that's pretty important to you. Pretty big in your life, huh?
what?
Your faith.
Yes. Very, very.
Now, is that
important.
something you, excuse me, is that something you nurtured since a child or is it more as an adult?
I was raised Catholic,
Okay.
but I was born again. I'm a born again Christian 8 years ago.
Congratulations. Very good.
Yes, thank
Very
you.
good. Yeah, I would say as of recently for me, I would say I've kind of renewed my faith as well. It's been about 10 years since I've been to church and done some things, but I've had a lot of interesting things go down in my life when I was like to my limit.
Yeah.
And you realize you're like, man, there's more going on. I need some help
Yes.
here. So I could really relate to that. So that's really cool that you brought that up. It really is. So you feel like getting into the assembly is something that was kind of inspired by your faith and prayer? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What do you want to do when you get into assembly or running and you actually get that seat?
Well, work with legislators to protect the baby in the womb, like I mentioned. And not only the baby in the womb, but all Americans in general. Because I like to quote Seth Gruber a lot because he's very wise and knowledgeable. And he's right. If government ignores the right to life, all other rights are going to be in danger. The rights of our children, of our police officers, of our first responders. You see right now with all these mandates that are going on,
Yeah.
how, the government now, they deem who is essential and who's not essential.
Wild, right?
And so I also want to get into office to end the mandates, give parents back a voice for them to be involved in their school, in their children's schools.
Yeah.
And to bring our police back into our communities.
Oh, hit that bell. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am absolutely for our police officers.
Yes.
I really am. You need law and order.
You do.
You have to. You got to have people there to enforce it. And we're starting to see the repercussions of that going away. And it's insane. Okay, just hear me out on this, okay? We've talked about this many times. When you call 911 and there's no police and the dispatcher just says, hey, we're going to send a hope and a prayer for you. Good luck out there. We don't have any police officers. You got to have people there. It's insane to me. And you can't send social workers. What are they going to do? The most crazy calls that these police officers go on are typically domestic violence. And there was a recent video we saw the other day. I think you brought it up, Jordan. Do you remember that call where that cop went in? The guy's like, hey, come on. Yeah, he's in here. He's in here. Yeah. And as he's running up, he just pulls a gun. It's insane.
Start shooting.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely the impact of the political stance, or at least, as far as defunding the police, I didn't agree with that from the get-go. Now, I think that there are things that we can do, or the police department can do, by formalize better training, more gaining that kind of experience to make officers have the best scenario possible for them to make maybe a better decision in that kind of conflict of battle type scenarios, because that's all we ever see. As a public, it's like, oh, this happened here. Yeah. We don't get the whole story, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? But having a more police presence, more training, more funding going to them, I think is super crucial for society to benefit from that. Because I think saying that officers less officers is a better scenario. I don't agree with that. Actually, the interesting part is because there was that push of saying, hey, we're going to send more like not counselors, but what would like critical incident therapist type response, or social workers, I think that there might actually be something to that, but it has to be in coordination with more law enforcement. Because to say like, oh, you're going to send someone to a domestic dispute that's not armed, that's not trained, that doesn't understand how to, mitigate physical interaction to a certain degree of success, I think that that's like, maybe like, there's probably an environment for some kind of therapy there, but to mitigate a risk at the moment of the potential problem, to me, that was crazy when they're talking about it. They're like, yeah, we'll just send social workers. I was like, who would sign up for that job? Unless it paid really well, I guess, but it probably doesn't. So, but anyway, I agree. I think that whole situation was kind of nuts, but
yeah, our law enforcement, our police officers need our support.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I've talked to some of them. I've been to community conversations with Sheriff Villanueva, and their morale is down.
Oh yeah,
because they hear all this defund the police, right? And a lot of them got fired because of the mandates. Right. They didn't get the vaccine, and then the ones that are still patrolling our streets, is like they're risking their lives to catch criminals that are only going to be released within 24 hours because of the DA that we have.
Our DA
right now
has no cojones. I'm trying to say it the right way. I'm like, but it's not even cojones, but he's not doing the right thing. No. He's not following the law. He's blatantly letting criminals out. Even Dave Chappelle. You know that guy that tackled Dave Chappelle recently?
On stage, right?
Yeah. He's not, there's no felony charges, nothing put against him. And he had a knife on him. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's insane. I'm like, it's almost like LA's turning into Gotham City.
Oh.
And that's what it feels like. I'm like, this is turning into straight madness.
Right.
Who's going to be Batman?
Yeah.
I know.
Sam.
Did you watch
Sam?
Did you guys watch the movie recently?
Yeah.
Didn't it feel so real?
Yes.
I was like, oh my God.
And that's what I'm saying. I was watching. I'm like, dude, we're living this right now. And I said this before here, Natasha, in the podcast, but I'm like, we are now living in the greatest sci-fi film ever filmed in history. And it's not even in theaters. We're in it. Mm-hmm. We are absolutely in it right now. It's insane.
I always say, like, 15 years from now, there's going to be some really good movies that are created from
true stories.
I mean, well, yeah, but I mean, look at just take a small slot to 4 years, right? In that 4 years, you can probably make like 8 different movies from different subject matters of big things and events that have happened. And it's crazy because it doesn't seem like anything is changing. It just keeps becoming more, right? Mm-hmm. It was like, there's a couple of things that just happened. It was like the whole laptop thing that's been going on with the Hunter Biden connection. And then you had the, I don't know if you guys saw that Dinesh D'Souza documentary that was supposed to come out, or that not supposed to, it came out, but it was over this last week. Do you guys know what that's about?
No, what happened with that?
Okay. We're not going to go super conspiracy because this is about you and what you're trying to do. But just to throw it out there, it is an interesting talking point. It has to do, like, he did a documentary that was tracking the 2020 election.
Okay.
And basically the starting point was to figure out like where were the inconsistencies because of the potential, like if there was fraudulent votes and if there was some discrepancy with potential of these states that could have been flipped either way. What would that look like with a little more investigation, right? So the sum of it is they use like geo-tracking for like the ballot harvesting allegations that were taking place. And what it was showing was that there was multiple people, like they were using like cell phone tracking. And then a lot of those sites actually had cameras set up and they were able to ID people coming back like 30, 40 times dumping ballots.
Wow.
And this was in thousands of spots, right? So this, essentially this documentary was tracking and is like, I'm going to say factual evidence because that's what it's titled as. I'm not an expert.
Allegedly,
I'm not,
right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's true, but I'm saying that this is how it's being labeled. But basically that there was enough evidence there to show that there was like tens of thousands of votes that were ballot harvested to aid in the flipping of these states that lost by small margins. But doing the math essentially that they would have flipped the other way and we would have had a different president.
Wow.
The reason why I brought that up is the day that documentary came out in the theaters was the morning that the leak from the Supreme Court about the Roe v. Wade flip came out. So again, right, this is the conspiracy side of it.
Is it
Take
still
attention from that.
That's true.
Well, that's what I'm saying is that every single time there's something
something, right?
that comes out, it's like, boom, okay, this happened. And it's like, you're telling me the Supreme Court, like the one that's supposed to be the most ironclad, tight game system because for the judiciary system in the United States happened to leak out that like, hey, by the way, there was a vote, they might be flipping this. And of course that's going to be the reaction because it's a very polarizing subject matter and a lot of people feel very strongly for and or against it.
It's a very passionate subject for many people.
Yeah, and we would take
it is.
any distraction away to focus on that.
So is that movie in theaters or was it on a streaming service?
It was, it's going to be on a streaming service. I think May 7th it comes out. You can watch it on there, but that was the day they released
What is it called again?
It's called 2,000 Mules.
2,000 Meals. Okay.
Well,
It's not like I'm plugging this show.
No,
I really want to see it because I'm
I think
interested
it's good
in
to
it,
watch
but yeah.
because I think we're all in agreement here with our beliefs, but it's just I wonder if that guy is afraid to be Clintonized.
I mean, he also did a documentary about Hillary Clinton and like the Clinton Foundation.
You
so
better watch it,
he's
bro. Suicide by
imagine.
murder Clintons, dude.
Yeah, he might be working out and have a heart attack. You know?
Exactly.
Anyway, so but yeah, going back to the potential movie industry, if I was a filmmaker, I'd be stoked right now. There's a lot of
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Natasha, being would you say with where you were born and what you stand for, and then the community that you represent, have you gotten blowback for your beliefs?
Yes, I have.
And I only ask that because, I'm mixed. My mom's black, my dad's white. And I just know, at least right now, like the black community, in my opinion, is being used by the left. And the left's not doing anything for them. And it irritates me to death.
The Hispanic community as well.
Yeah, I feel like they're using that community as just pawns to move something around to get what they gain, to get into office, and then they're just left out.
Yeah.
Nothing's being done. And it just, and I'll tell you this, there's a lot of my family on the African-American side that are now right-wing. They have completely changed. They're sick of it. And I was like, whoa, because most of my life, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
It's just, hey, we're Democrat because we're African-American. Okay, cool. Now they're like, no, they're not doing anything for us.
Exactly.
We're just being used.
They just give them empty promises. And one of the things that I'm doing, because I'm Mexican, right? I'm American first. That's what I believe. But I'm Mexican, so I can relate to them, and I speak to them. Like, I remind them of their conservative values.
Right.
Like, Mexico has a great culture of Catholicism, and most of them are conservative. They're pro-life, they're pro-marriage, pro-God family, and they came here to pursue the American dream,
Right.
to open up their businesses, and they saw what happened during the pandemic, how the government didn't do anything for them. A third of the American small businesses, they're done, and they're not coming back.
Right.
And they've been given these handouts and been brainwashed, or just thinking, oh, the Democrats are going to fix my papers, whatnot. But then, like you said, ultimately they don't do anything.
No, here's the
and
point.
they're realizing that. Like, honestly, like the Republican side, I mean, not to say Republican against Democrat, but just look at the party's platform. I always tell people that, like, don't look at the like red or blue. Like, look up the candidate, look at their policies, and if their values align with yours, then support that candidate.
Right.
Yes.
No, I 100% agree with you, and that's one thing. Just, I agree with you. Like, I'm not gonna not like you because you're a Democrat. I'm not gonna not like you because you're maybe a Republican or Libertarian or whatever it may be. There was also a guy who made a party called Boot on Head. Remember that? Boot on Head guy. Yeah, you guys look it up.
Okay.
He literally. He looked crazy. Big beard, older dude, and he had a rubber boot on his head.
Oh, boot on
Boot
head.
on head party.
Boot on head. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Different.
But it's like I honestly don't care, who you decide to vote for. Mm-hmm. I don't care about your religion or whatever beliefs you have, but you got to be able to agree to disagree. And you shouldn't hate on one party just because you don't believe in what I believe. And I feel like that's happening right now. Mm-hmm. And then they'll use, I want to say, race bait people. Well, we're going to take care of you. Remember, you're African-American or Hispanic, so you better stay Democrat. Don't leave your party. And you're like, but it shouldn't be about race.
No, it shouldn't.
There should be no race in this right now. Mm-mm. It's like, what aligns with my values in my life? What's going to be good for my family? What's going to be good for my future? What do I believe in? And you're taking up a pretty big fight as far as the pro-life thing. And I respect it because that's a big deal right now. You're seeing a lot of protests because of the Roe versus Wade being flipped, possibly, right? Allegedly.
Yeah, it hasn't officially
come out, right? There's a leak, but my goodness, that is a heck of a fight. And whatever people's beliefs are, here's where I find things a little, tricky, and I don't want to say funny, but it's like you have the leftists that are like, you better get vaccinated. You're going to lose your job. People have lost their job, right? We're not going to let you get certain things unless you're vaccinated. But then they say they're going to take away abortion. My body, my choice. Like, hey, guys, which is it?
Yeah.
If it's my body, my choice, then I shouldn't have to get a vaccination if I don't want to, right?
It's an interesting...
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, where are we going here, people?
I get what you're saying.
Doesn't make any
what you're
sense.
saying, or fighting for women's rights or Black Lives Matter.
Right.
It's like that baby. Most of the people affected are actually African Americans with abortions. Mm-hmm. And what about them? What about their lives?
Yeah.
What about the babies? They're women too.
Yeah.
They're African American. They're low income. Like, what about them? Like, are you just going to support one organization and you're going to leave the rest, or are you going to do it as a whole?
Yeah. You know what I found out was really interesting? Amazon pays for their employees $4,000 to get an abortion because it's cheaper for them to pay for an abortion than to give them maternity leave.
Are you serious?
I swear.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to fucking delete
I
Amazon
just bought
Prime.
something off Amazon.
So did I,
too.
dude. I couldn't believe it.
Your last purchase?
I wanted to do my last purchase.
I know.
Yeah, I want to bring. There was two things real quick. One, what you were talking about, because it was kind of like saying like, hey, if you're a certain ethnicity, then you automatically associate with a certain political party. Mm-hmm. And I think that the best example of that, and this is a quote from the sitting president of the United States, is it said, if you don't vote for Joe Biden, you ain't black.
I remember that.
So, and then that's a direct quote. That's
crazy.
not how I feel. That's not anything. I just want to make that real clear here.
Yes.
But I'm just using that as an example because if you're going to put your thumb on the pulse of what that party feels like that they are entitled to, is all encapsulating of that comment right there, right? And it's just like, what? Like, how can? Okay, one, I was like, I'm pretty sure Joe Biden's a white guy. And I would think that there would have been tremendous blowback from stating a comment with confidence like that, right? And does nothing. Now there's obviously political candidates try to bring that up, or depending on whatever news source you watch, they kind of like, hey, well, what's up with this? Where's the dramatic response? Why doesn't anyone care? It's because it's normalized to that extent within that party. And that to me is mind-boggling, but again, right, just showing that that's what the expectation is,
right?
And the other thing when you're talking about with the with abortions, African American community, like the higher percentages of that being used. I actually, someone sent me a video, and it was a guy who went to, I don't know the ethnicity of the guy, but the way he was talking about like black rights and stuff. So I'm assuming that he might be African American gentleman. But he went to, it was like a doctor's, like a hospital where there was like doctors, nurses, whatever. They're all in scrubs, right? And they were doing a BLM support kind of, deal. And so he walks up and he's like, who here supports the African American community? And everyone's like, yeah.
Oh, this is great.
And then he's like, okay. He's like, who here? Like, he's like, oh, he says like all Black Lives Matter. Then everyone's like, yeah. And then he's like, well, what about like, black on black crime? Those lives matter too. And then like half the group's like, yeah.
I know. It keeps diminishing.
Yeah. And then this, she appeared to be white, but she was a lighter skinned lady, gets in front of the crowd and like gets on her knee and puts her arm up. And he was like, who here supports the unborn African American children who are aborted every year?
Yeah.
Ooh, boy.
And one person's like, woo! In the back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I was like, again, coming to the topic matter, it's like, where do you align personally? How does that split? Why does it split? And I'm not saying that I'm hard in the paint on pro-life, pro-choice, either way, because I feel like I'm more of a circumstantial person a little bit with that, but I would lean more towards pro-life. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, it's like, again, right, the irony in it, like the vax mandates versus the pro-choice.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, why is that different? Why?
Yeah, why are you flipping it? If
So-
you're going to take a stance on one thing, take a stance.
Yeah.
You better be it through and through, which is why a lot of the stuff, I'm just like, it's so hypocritical. It makes me so annoyed when it comes to politics sometimes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And, I know people have they get really emotional about the abortion thing, but I'm definitely with you on that. I think it's a lot of it's circumstantial, but I'm way heavily pro-life. But it's just sad because where do we draw the line where, people want to say, well, when is conception? When is life? Like, this kid didn't have a choice. No one's forcing you to have sex. That's why I want to tell people, it's like, if you could be a mature adult and make correct decisions, but then it comes down to this point where maybe it's a mistake you made or you don't want to have a child because you may not be able to afford it. It's like, but you're going to take a life.
Most of the reasons for abortion are out of inconvenience.
Yeah.
I was going to
That's
say,
it. And life begins at conception. If you want to follow the science, like you need a live sperm and a live egg in order to create life. Because if you have a dead egg, you just can't create life.
Yeah.
yeah, that subject is such a.
It's touchy for a lot
It's
of
very
people.
touchy, and I agree with that. I feel like as far as if you're running stats, like the numbers of abortions that are created from like whether it's like incest, rape, these kind of like more crazy scenarios
It's a
where
very
like
low percentage.
It's a very low
it's
percentage.
like 5 or less.
Yeah.
It's now 5 might even be really high. I actually looked it up. It was a very low side of it, So, but even with that being low, that's where like my stance on that falters a little bit, because if you're a 14-year-old girl and you were raped by your uncle, you know what I mean? I don't think that's you should. I mean, me personally, I'm not saying anyone how they should feel, but to me, I would say that would be an understandable scenario where an abortion would play a part in that.
Right.
However, even with that, it would be hopefully early. Like literally this happened, you go to the police, this is, you know what I mean? Like you would get you down that path. And I think what's interesting is like the timelines for the abortion laws. Like I know in Texas you have 6 weeks, right? Which again, not saying for or against it, but I think that by having a shorter time period, it holds people accountable to their own decision making. So it's like, are you going to stop people from having unprotected sex and things are going to go on? Absolutely not. That is going to continue to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And there's going to continue to be the oops or the, oh shit, this happened, right? But what it does is it forces you to be accountable for your own actions, not just like, oh, it could happen, couldn't happen. And 6 months down the line, now you're like, oh, I don't want this anymore, right? So, and I feel like a lot of that happens in that time frame. So it's like whether it's funding, whether it's moral, religious beliefs, it's like if you can just keep these numbers at a time where it's like, obviously you're going to be splitting hairs because nothing is going to be acceptable. There's always going to be two sides of it.
Yeah.
But at least increasing the accountability of a person's like body.
Well, that's what I feel like nowadays. And maybe it's not that we're all old here, right? I'm going to be 36 here in a couple weeks, but it hurts, man. There's a lot more popping and cracking when I get up in the morning.
36.
But it's like,
I
I
remember
feel,
36.
yeah, I feel like the current generation, it's like, or just our times, no one wants to be held accountable for their actions. And I'm talking in like every facet of their life and things. That's why there's so much lawlessness. There's no accountability.
Yeah, there is.
It's ridiculous. And that's why, for me, and I think here on this podcast, like we are huge supporters of the middle class, because the middle class to me is being decimated. And the middle class is your African-American, Hispanic communities, the single moms and dads working 2 jobs, putting food on the table. Like we want to give people a voice. We want them to be heard, And I think that's what you're doing with your platform and running for assembly, and at least where you come from. I think all of us in here didn't come from much. We've had to work for everything that we've had, and we've had to earn it, which is why I respect you and why we wanted to have you on here and what you're doing. And
thank you. Yeah.
For our communities that, what I think a lot of them feel like they don't have a voice as far as when it comes to politics and voting.
They don't. I was up in Sacramento for AB 2223 with 3,000 other people and to oppose the bill, right? And you see the assembly members that are supposed to be representing you and they're on their phones. They ignore the people. So everybody opposed the bill and they still decided to pass it. And you take an oath to represent the people.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's so disrespectful.
It's so disrespectful. And one of the guys, I was opposing a bill for nurses to practice abortions without doctors. And one of the this was a state senate. One of the state senators, he was falling asleep. I recorded him. He was literally asleep, and the other one was on the phone.
That's our
getting
tax
some
dollars.
Coffee.
That's our tax dollars.
Exactly. And I'm like, people are starting to see that, which is great, And I wouldn't be, because I am of the people, for the people. I just want to be there representing the people and be reachable. Like if you call Assembly Member Natasha Serrano, I'll pick up.
Right.
Or transfer the call to me, because now you call them, you get the automated message, they don't answer, and they're just doing their own agenda. They're not representing the people.
No, and I think that's what's being lost in politics today, and why there needs to be such a huge shift and change is because it's turned into career and money for these people. When you go into politics making, let's say, 80 or 100 grand a year out of taxpayer money, but you come out a multimillionaire, there's a problem.
There's
a huge problem. You're not talking with the people, you're pushing your own agenda. You're there to represent me.
Yes.
What the heck I want, not what you freaking want.
Yes, exactly.
And to see them on their phones, not engaging, is the most disrespectful thing you can do to the people. And that's why when we have young people like you, we got Mike McMahon, right?
McCon. I know. I
Sorry,
can't
Mike. Sorry.
We love you.
Yeah, we have Cole Brocato, all these younger people. And even when it comes to the school, school board and assembly?
School board meetings.
Parents are stepping up to
Mama Bears, Papa Bears. I love that because a lot of first-time candidates.
Yes.
I feel so inspired because a lot of people tell me, oh, you're too young. Like, what's your political background? I'm like, none.
No, put that in the trash.
But I've met a lot of, construction workers,
Yeah.
Former police officers that got fired, grandmothers, mothers that are tired. And it's so refreshing and encouraging to see that.
Yes.
Because the people are waking up.
Yeah, people are waking up because the last time I checked, what it's written down, we saw it's a government of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yes.
People don't understand. We actually have more power than you think. If you get in there and start running, you get a backing and you get in and we get more people doing that. I don't care if you're new to politics or 21 years old. You want to make a difference and make a change, you can. Don't let anybody hold you back. When someone tells you you're too young, good God, give them 1,000 reasons why they should have said yes.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a really interesting talking point because that what you said that's got to be very common that you'll hear, like, you're young. What's your experience? Have you any political background? I think that's the funniest question that you can ask somebody because if you go to just keep it on a small level, look at your city councils. What kind of political backgrounds have they ever had other than maybe it's like PTA?
Yeah.
Something involved in the school or small business owner, retired PD. Something it's going to be one of those things that typically, or entrepreneur, like you'll see that kind of thing, which just means there's a couple businesses, right? The reality is that there are people. Okay, there is no school of hard knocks for politics, unless I'm sure maybe in DC, if you're working in the Capitol or however, then you can say, oh, I worked for this. But for most people in these, city kind of council situations or wherever they're going to start up, that's how getting in is how you're going to gain the experience.
Exactly. Hands on.
Yeah. And just having the opportunity to be able to look, you're like, hey, look, I feel that I'm compelled to change a problem that I see within the people that I live around.
Yes.
Right. And Now, look, if you had some crazy ideas, then okay, all right, well, but like when you shut someone down because you say, oh, you don't have enough political experience, I think that's the most bullshit thing you can tell somebody.
Yeah.
Because the reality is that one, they don't know until you get there. And two, if you have some fresh ideas, and it's got to be refreshing to see younger people getting involved with this because...
It's always been old people from what I've seen, not to be disrespectful, but it's always been elderly.
They are. I mean, I'm the youngest candidate for assembly member.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay, damn, girl, I thought you were 26, all right?
I did too. I was thinking mid-20s. I was like, okay,
And
well, so you got life experience.
A lot of people think that, and then when I go door to door, I'm not wearing makeup and ponytail, and they're like, are you even 18? I'm like, yes.
That's so great, though.
Yeah.
No, and you know what it is, too? And we've talked about this, I think, even on the last podcast. We had a female firefighter on here. She was the first female firefighter for her department. And how many times people told her she can't do it because she's a girl, or you're not going to be strong enough. You'll never make it. It's too hard. It's a man's job. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I hate when people put other people down for going after the dreams and things they want to do. And it's usually because that person is stuck behind fear. They don't have the courage to step out and do something new because they're stuck in that, well, what if I fail? But I'm always telling people, yeah, but what if you succeed? God, what if you succeed? What's that going to turn into for you? You don't know. It could turn into so much more. Hey, failure is absolutely there, and you have to take that in consideration. But if you live behind that fear, you're never going to know your true potential.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, that's why for you, I don't want to cuss, but screw them.
There you go.
Yeah.
Forget them. Forget them. Go full bore ahead and do you.
Yes.
Let everyone else sit at home and do nothing with their life, and you push forward to make a difference in community, because you never know whose life you're going to inspire, where it's going to take you for the rest of your life. It could be absolutely amazing. You just don't know. You just got to go for it.
Exactly. And I'm just stepping out in faith.
Yes.
Because I did think, like, I'm not qualified, Lord. Like, I'm not. But, God equips the called. He doesn't call the equipped.
That's right.
And here we are, almost 2 months, and I've been getting a lot of good feedback. I've been getting a lot of exposure.
Good.
God's been putting the right people in my path. I've been learning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Lord, let's go. Let's go as far as you want me to go. If you're going to close the door, it's fine. But at least I know a couple of people have already been inspired. They're like, oh, I want to run for next time.
Absolutely.
You've inspired me this. And then if that was the purpose of it, then so be it. But I know people, I want to relay my message and for them to know that generally, like, I do want to make a change because we need one.
We do.
And I'm also experiencing, the downfall of this state. So that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Well, keep pushing forward, because it can be discouraging. It really can. It can be hard, especially when you have a lot of negativity. But I think that's where you're going to find out what you're made of, and your true character, and your faith. Everyone can have their faith when times are good, but it's when it gets rough, when you're truly tested, where's your faith stand? Mm-hmm. It can get pretty freaking hard. But everything I've learned, and what I remember in the Bible and the stories I've read, the Lord always chose the down and outers, the ones who everyone least expected, and He used them in powerful, powerful ways.
Exactly.
So you never know.
Exactly. Like Moses. How he used
That was good.
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
It was all the people that everyone never wanted to be around, and it's like, well, what about this Pharisee or about this high leader?
Exactly.
And he's like, no, I want that guy.
I know exactly. Like Moses, I kind of relate to Moses a little bit because he didn't like speaking. He had a speech problem.
Yeah.
And I hate public speaking. I hate it. So that's why he used Aaron, his brother. But every time, like, before I go speak, even before the podcast, like, I always pray, like, Lord, please speak through me. Because if it's just me, it's just gonna ruin everything.
You're doing
I was going to say, you sound good.
But it's experience, as you go. Like we're saying, like, you have to be hands-on, and the more you practice, the more you do it, you just keep growing, and it shapes your character.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Absolutely.
It's, when we did this podcast too, trust me, we weren't the greatest.
Have you guys been doing it?
We're still in a perpetual state of learning.
Wait, so you will be episode 102.
Oh.
We've been doing it for a little bit now.
Oh.
So you got a little time in the game, I guess. That's so funny to say out loud. Sorry.
It's weird.
Yeah, it is, but it definitely, just like with anything else, like Tim was saying, you're saying just the more you practice and the more you get out there and you start speaking with people, especially like, and I feel like, you know, when you're running for assembly or a political position, right, you're constantly like expanding your knowledge base and what you're trying to stand for, right? Because you need to be able to talk to those points, right? Because if you come in and you're like, oh, I want this to happen and that's it, right? People want the elaboration a little bit, like why, or what's your counter argument to how things are going right now. And as you do, I'm sure as it goes more and more and more, you kind of like, you get in the zone quick, you know, but I don't know. I like that kind of stuff when I see that from, you know, people running, because it's like, I'm like, good. That person feels it. They're strong in what they believe in, and they're willing to I don't say ward off. I don't know if that's the term. Ward off. That sounds like some like
ward off Dungeons
and Dragons thing. I was like, sorry, I'm kind of a nerd. But you can ward off those like stupid people that like ask dumb questions, or like, you know, they just, I don't know. Anyway,
you just smile.
Yeah, but I feel like it's cool to see that, and like I don't know, maybe secretly I've always wanted to get into politics, but like
he will.
Maybe one day.
No,
not after this, dude. They'll be like, just pull up episode 62.
My God, I know.
F that guy. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know what 62 was, but shout out whoever was on. I'm sure it was a good one.
Well, Natasha, we're gonna wrap this up, but I really, if you can somehow encourage, or you know, I'm a big proponent on the middle class, because we're getting decimated right now.
Yes, they want to get rid of the working.
Yeah, they want the working class gone, and you know, how do we encourage our fellow working class to get out there and make a difference and vote? It's so important.
It's so important to vote, especially vote in person.
Yes,
vote in person. Like, take your ballot, because we're all gonna get one.
Right.
Take it to the polling place and make sure they vote it. They do something with it, and that you vote in person. Also, if you get those electronic machines, you can request paper ballots. So do the paper ballots.
It's good to know.
Because the electronic machines, there's always a glitch or the system's down. And no, paper ballots.
My vote that I went in and turned in, so I turned it in person, but they just scanned it. And then I went to check online. It was dated for the day before I turned it in.
See, that's crazy. Right? That's so crazy, dude.
It's so crazy, and it's just
Oops. What are we living in?
Discouraging, because you could have a candidate that, you know, it's your candidate, and the candidate is doing great, you know, a lot of exposure. But if we don't have election integrity, it's all for nothing. Absolutely. So I also encourage people, volunteer at the polls.
Yes.
Volunteer at the polls, please. Like, if they know that they have one person that has integrity there watching, it will change.
Yeah.
It will change. And especially now with the last day to register to vote, I believe is May 28th.
Okay.
And they're going to open the polls 10 days before election day, so you can vote in person 10 days before. I don't know. I think it should go back to just being one day. Yeah. But now they have like a 2-week span.
Well, it's just more, just like, God, I feel like this is more time to pull something off.
Yes. And if you're going to take your ballot, take it to a, trustworthy harvesting place, churches, or, somewhere where, the people are going to actually take it to the registrar's office. Right, don't put them in the parks right there next to, homeless camps. Don't. Because they're just going to trash them.
Seriously.
So how can someone follow you? Like, you have a social media platform, I'm sure.
I do.
What's your handle there?
I have Instagram and Facebook is just at Natasha for Assembly, but it's FOR, not the number 4. So Natasha FOR Assembly, and my website is natashaforassembly.com.
Okay. So that's where people can follow you?
Yes.
Well, yeah, and like I said, we've said it a couple of times, awesome that you're doing what you're doing. I think it's a kind of a breath of fresh air, yes. I think, and to see younger people involved. It's so funny we say younger people. Like, there's some stigma that you have to be a certain age to be a successful political person, wherever you're running for. I think that should not be the norm. I think that the people that are younger want to work hard, want to see the change, and like it's perfect. Look. You've spent time in Mexico and the United States. You've seen, 30 years. You've seen probably a dramatic amount of change in the state of California. And like you said, you're compelled to try to fix it. And I think that that's like amazing.
It's honorable.
And yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it is.
And
it's gutsy.
I just hope
wish more people were like it.
Dude, totally. And hopefully, I'm sure hopefully you get on a bunch more podcasts. You're doing all the, the meet and greets and getting your name out there, because that's the only way it's going to work, right? That's how you got to get notoriety and get your name out there. And I know we wish you the best, and whatever we can do. And
thank you.
It would be cool to get we should get all the people running, do one huge.
We could do a round table with Natasha, Cole. We can get Mike on here.
We can get Chemo. Have you heard of Chemo Mateo? No. Chemo Mateo, he's actually running for state senate. It's his first time running.
Okay.
And we actually went to high school together. But we never met in high school. We lost touch. Well, because we never met, right? And then I saw
Nice.
And then I saw his social media, Chemo Mateo. I'm like, I know that name.
Yeah.
And then I saw his picture. And he married my best friend from middle school.
Oh, what? What a small world.
So we connected, and we've been helping each other. And he's a great guy.
Awesome.
Well, shoot him our way. I'm glad that you reached out. I love your story. I think a lot of us can relate to it. You didn't come from much, and you still made something of yourself, and I can respect that a lot. It takes a lot of hard work to get to where you're at, and you're taking on a big fight in a state that's predominantly left-leaning. It takes guts. It takes a lot of guts, and I hope we have more people like you stand up and do what you're doing, and I hope we get people to support you.
Yes, and we do.
I appreciate what you're doing. Also,
thank you.
Swag.
All for me?
Yeah, a couple stickers. You got a shirt. There's a challenge coin. On the back of that challenge coin, it says the 2 most important days of your life: the day you were born and the day you find out why. I think you found out your why, so keep pushing.
Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, no, we have
it's an honor to be here.
Yeah, one question for you. Okay.
Yes.
We're all gonna answer real quick, and then we're gonna end this. Okay. What about the future are you most excited about? What about the future are you most excited about?
To see everyone's calling be fulfilled.
I like that.
Yes.
Dang, dude.
Dang,
Deep. I love it. Where are you, Jordan?
Am I next?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the future? God, there's so many things that I'm excited to see. But if I'm shooting from the hip, the first thing that popped up in my mind is my kids.
Awesome.
I got 2.
Can I ring the bell?
Oh.
Yeah, hit the, I like that. There we go, Natasha.
Yeah.
Kids, we love kids.
Yeah, just excited to see, just the young individuals that they'll turn into, and my hopes is that I can guide them in a good direction and try to lead by an example as best as I can. So we're gonna omit a lot of the things that I did when I was younger. Obviously, that's what parents do, I think, right? You can't tell them until they're older. But that's what I'm really pumped on. So
I like that, dude.
That's
I like that. What about you, Sam?
Yeah.
First thing I thought about was me, man, and seeing my growth. I don't have any kids, so just seeing
Same.
what I become, right? Seeing what we become, in the future.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, Jordan, because that really, our kids are our future.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that are carrying everything going on right now. They're experiencing it, and the kids that aren't even born yet are the ones that it's really going to hit
And
them.
we're doing this for them, for the new generation, for your kids. I'm doing this for your kids too, Jordan.
well, thank you, Natasha. That's why I wish you the best. I hope
Because
you
their
get in there
innocence
and
is
crush
being,
it.
Are you doing it for my dogs?
Yes, I'm a dog mom. I'm a dog mom. I'm a dog mom.
for your well-being.
So
Hey,
Gosh, for me, I think it's the. I'm excited for the future because of the unknown and the hope that I have. My life kind of got derailed the past couple months. It has been shocking as hell, but I actually have more excitement and hope for the future than I've ever had because it's kind of out of my hands now, and I know it's in the hands of a faithful Father, God. So I'm like, I think it's gonna be good.
it's good, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be
Feels
all
good
right.
not to be in control.
Yeah, you're kind of like, you know what? It's good to let that go. I'm just going to let whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. He's got me. So I think it's the excitement of the unknown of the future is what's pretty exciting for me right now. It's really cool. So, well, Natasha, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We are in full support. This was great. I hope everything happens for you, not just in politics, but your life. You're a good person. You've been through a lot. You've achieved a lot. Keep pushing forward. Forget the naysayers. Just go for it. You have nothing to lose.
Absolutely.
Nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So.
That's super inspiring. just keep up the good work, and
Thank you,
You know,
guys.
I hope you get the spot for the district that you're representing,
Yes,
and
thank
hopefully
you.
that's not where you stop. Keep mushing.
Amen. Yeah.
You know,
Just
absolutely.
keep praying.
Just
Keep
remember
praying,
us,
guys.
little people, when you're up in the White House one day.
Just saying.
But
I'm a little
I'll be
people
press
too.
secretary. He can be part of your cabinet. You know, he can.
There you go. Chief of staff.
Yes.
Secretary.
Exactly.
Coffee
We're in,
guy.
dude.
Coffee guy. Just
I'll be
kidding.
coffee, dude.
I can be the coffee guy. That's a no stress role.
Seriously.
I was like,
would love it, dude.
Decaf, non-latte, copy. All right. I'm just kidding.
Well, let's get a let's go on 3. Okay, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3.
Let's
go.
Bye, everybody. And that's it. Thank you for listening in, everybody. I'd like to thank our sound engineer who makes this podcast happen and makes us sound very good, Stephen Clark. And to our first sponsor, 89 Barbers. Look good, feel good, be great. Come get your haircut at 2 locations, Long Beach and in Orange, California. Your appointment can be booked at 89barbers.com. That is BARBRERS. 89barbers.com. Again, look good, feel good, be great. Check it out. It's my barber. He is the man. Thanks, everybody. Bye.